10 lessons in 26 years. So I have seen videos on YouTube where people make videos with titles such as 21 lessons in 21 years, 20 lessons in 20 years, 18 years in 18 lessons in 18 years. Well, I turned 26 and a video with 26 lessons would be far too long. So I'm going to condense what I have learned in the 26 years of my life and come up with 10 things to say that could benefit you and what you could apply in your own life. So let's get started. So, the first point that I would like to make, or the first lesson, trust your gut. If you feel that something isn't right, and if something isn't for you, it probably isn't. So, back in August of 2018, I started working at an audit firm. And from day one, I had an overwhelming feeling that this place isn't for me, and I should have probably gone on to work in a different organization where I would have handled the accounting processes and been more involved in the accounting side of things than auditing. And I would have learned more about accounting and finance that way rather than having been in an audit firm. But unfortunately, I did not make the switch, and extremely regret that decision because I feel that it has thrown my career backwards by maybe 5 to 6, 7 years even. And that that's the reason why I say if you feel like something isn't for you, it probably isn't. The second lesson, don't fear quitting. So this actually ties to the first lesson. And after being employed in that firm for 1 month, I handed in my resignation and I said that I wasn't interested in working. And the mistake that I made here was giving a month's notice. Because later onwards, I noticed that people would quit, or employees who had just been onboarded like me would quit without even informing the office, which is not something that I encourage you doing. And even people who have been with the company or the firm for many years, like 3 years, 2 years, would quit like after 2 weeks. The standard notice period back then in that country was 1 month, so I offered 1 month. And during this 1 month period, I noticed, or rather, I noticed now that a lot of things happened to change my mind for the worst. And by the end of the notice period, 1 month, I ended up withdrawing my termination letter and ended up working there for 3 more years and 3 months. One particular incident that happened that actually changed the course of things was there was a training, ongoing training during the week that I handed my resignation. There was a training for managers, and what the partner who I worked under had done was she had walked into the training and she had said some things about why I actually that about me resigning, and those weren't really positive things. And everyone in the firm or everyone in the department in the group that I worked with came up to me and asked me why I was resigning, and it was actually a personal decision and I had to really explain myself more than necessary. Coming to think of it, I shouldn't have done that. And everyone really pestered me. Some people tried to convince me, some pestered me into remaining in the firm for longer, for the full 3 years. And this did not happen to anyone else. I came to realize who joined the firm, and in a month or two or 3 months, those who tried to resign, this event did not happen to them. Basically, the partner like never mentioned anything to the rest of the staff about people joining and quitting negatively. And had that incident not happened to me, I would have quit that place. Therefore, if you fear that your life is going to be shaken up because you quit, if you're quitting for the right reasons, it's probably not going to happen and it's going to go well. So that's lesson number 2. And lesson number 3, don't sign long term contracts of employment, especially when you are young. So the agreement for this place was 3 years, that I had to work for 3 years. The contract was for 3 years. Later, I realized that other firms and other corporations were offering contracts for trainees. So a little bit of backstory. I was studying what was equivalent of the CPA, and to write the exams at the final level, I had to write, or I had to have 3 years of experience, work experience, and that's why the 3 years keeps coming up. And other firms and other locations or other corporations were offering contracts for 1 year and 2 year, while this place demanded 3 years. I signed 3 years and I couldn't resign in the middle. If I did, all the training that I had completed up until that point would be nullified. And there were so many instances, so many fights, so unprofessional things that happened during this time that really pushed me onto the verge of resigning, but I couldn't do it and I had to stick it out till the end. So, well, at least while you're very early in your career, don't sign long term contracts. The best option that I would recommend is a maximum of 1 year. So, let's pivot away from my first experience from my first job. And the fourth lesson, the older you get, the more acquaintances you make. So I came to realize that post like 23, post reaching the age of 23, I have not made a single friend, and people that I come across are merely acquaintances. I guess when you grow up, people's path start to pivot away, and you should really be lucky enough to find someone with similar interests that you can have a friendship with for a decent amount of years in the foreseeable future. Moving on to point number 5, lesson number 5. Making friends as an adult is hard. So, when I came to Canada, I visited a lot of social events, book clubs, debate clubs, writing clubs, and more social gatherings, more social events, networking events. And even though I would see some of these people on a regular basis, none of those bonds developed into any friendships. This was, I come to realize and I come to understand, this is because people come there as a hobby, as a leisure activity, rather than really trying to find people to make connections with. And that for me it was a poor way of trying to make connections, because none of them really stuck. Because you talk to someone in the at the place that you are, and once you leave, they forget about you, and it's really hard to like develop the connection beyond that physical location. This is because people have their personal lives to live, and you just become an afterthought. So making friends as an adult is hard. Lesson number 6. Don't go to college unless you're studying STEM, or the field of study or the field that you're trying to get yourself launched into requires a college degree or a university degree like medicine, law, etc. I after completing or partly completing the CPA, the equivalent of the CPA program, it's called a Chartered Accountancy program back where I was from. I studied business management in Canada, and it was the first time in my life that I was studying something that was entirely business related. And I have to say that my diploma isn't really helping me out there. This is because you don't really learn the technical skills that are needed in degrees. For example, if you wanted to learn computer science, you can one route is to go and get the knowledge that you need from a degree. And even if you are getting the knowledge, please try to get into an Ivy League school or a high ranking school, because this is where you will meet peers that are competitive, and that competitive nature will drive you forward and just cause you to do better. Whereas if you go to a tier 2 or tier 3 school, that environment is not going to be present. Lesson number 7. Lesson number 7. Don't fear failure too much. Whenever I start something or when I have to do something new, I always be a pessimist and think of all the scenarios of why it would not happen, and end up wasting a lot of time that leads me to not have enough time to actually do the thing, or end up not doing the thing at all. But recent experiences in life have taught me that mostly it's just demons in our head, and not any real danger present. Lesson number 8. Learn essential skills, for example, driving, early on in life. So I got my driver's learning permit when I was 25 years old last year. And I should have been driving since I was 18. So this is what happened. No one in my family has a car. So we approached a family member one day and we asked him about driving schools and what was the best course of way to get a license. What this person told us was, why are you getting your license now? You're just 18. Get the license once you are more closer to buying a car. That was 8 years ago, and I am nowhere close to buying a car of my own. I had 6 months since the time that I finished school till I started studying post secondary education. So, this was the time that I should have taken my license, and I didn't do it. I let that time go to waste, and it was very hard trying to learn driving in Canada, and it cost a lot of money. I did not find the right driving instructors. Had I done this 8 years before, I would have been at least behind the wheel of a car, and it wouldn't be the first time at 25 trying to start a car and being behind the wheel and trying to drive. So yeah, don't listen to what everyone has tell you. Learn how to ignore advice. Lesson number 9. Technical skills matter more than soft skills. They actually teach the opposite in college. They teach you more theory and emphasize on soft skills, but what you really need is hard skills. For example, if you take a marketing degree, that there are two types of careers that, or two different paths that a job or a career in marketing will lead you to. One is statistics in marketing, and the other one is going more towards the creative side of marketing, designing posters, graphic designing, video editing, taking photos, etc. But if you were to study a marketing degree in college, you don't really learn any of this. Instead, you learn the 4 P's, the 4 C's, the 7 P's, etc. Just textbooks, just textbook stuff that is regurgitated. Instead, you can learn all these things for YouTube for free. Then you can take an online course from a reputed site like Coursera or HarvardX or MITx, where you can prove to a prospective employer that you actually have the skills, and you would also have the side projects that you build while you were watching YouTube tutorials and doing the online course, instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on a college degree. And last lesson, lesson number 10. Find people who motivate you. In my life, I did not have any siblings to compete with, and the friends that I made also weren't really of the competitive nature. From my social experience, I have gathered that people who have a competitive or someone to just push them, for example, a brother or a sister, you would want to compare yourself against them and would always try to do better than them, or at least be on par with their level. If you had like a circle of friends, you would be motivated to try to prove yourself to that group and be more effective at learning and managing your stress that comes with that learning, and eventually you make more money out of it. Research actually tells you that households with more children lead to or lead to all those children doing less or doing a little less than households with single households with just one child. This is because the theory says that the parents are able to allocate or spend more resources and time with one child compared to many. But from my observation, time and time again, people with siblings have consistently performed better than children with no siblings, from my point of view. So these are my 10 lessons, and I hope you found something of value. Thank you for watching.